It's been hard to find a car that competes directly with Tesla in the same class. The closest thing yet is this, the Polestar 2. It's around the same size as a Model 3, and it's priced almost identically as the long range. We've been dying to put this car through its paces. We've not been disappointed. In fact, this car is a bit of a star. But is it in pole position? You might be thinking the Polestar 2 looks a bit like a Volvo. That's hardly a surprise because the brand was originally the racing and performance wing of the venerable Swedish car maker. Now both are owned by Chinese company Geely, which also owns Proton, Lotus and the taxi maker LEVC. The Polestar 2 is a solid looking vehicle, and apart from being a bit tall for a saloon, its general appearance is a satisfying blend of normal car with a little bit of futuristic style thrown in. The Polestar 2 has the form of a mid-sized saloon exactly like the Tesla Model 3, but it's actually a hatchback. The informational decals on the bottom of the front doors are surprisingly a standard feature, not because this is a press car, but you can peel them off apparently. The basic colour is black, but there are 6 optional paint jobs that cost £900 extra, including this dark grey, which is called Thunder, a bit of a misnomer for a mostly silent EV. However, all the paint shades are pretty sober. There are no reds, greens, yellows or even a light blue. The Polestar 2 is a very serious vehicle. There are a few optional extras, but the main one in evidence here is the Performance Pack, which costs £5,000 more. This adds Öhlins dual flow dampers and front Brembo brakes. The standard 19-inch wheels are upgraded to these 20-inch ones. You also get gold valve caps and yellow seat belts, which you may or may not appreciate. However, you can add the 20-inch wheels to a non-performance vehicle for £900. Overall, the Polestar 2 is a great looking car. The positive impression continues inside. The basic upholstery which you see here uses a material called WhichEV. This can be specified either in grey or charcoal black. You can also get a beige Napa leather option, but only with some exterior colour choices, and it's £4,000 extra, which seems a bit steep. The front seats feel a little bit enclosed, mostly due to the fact that this central console is really high. However, the seats are really comfortable, they hold you in and they feel very good in a long journey. There's a reasonable amount of headroom, although not as much as the EVs we've tested with SUV pretensions. The seats are heated as standard, as is the steering wheel, and even the wiper blades, really handy for clearing the windscreen on an icy winter's morning. The seats are electrically adjustable with these buttons on the side, although the cushion length adjustment is mechanical. There's a memory function for the driver's seat that includes the mirrors and has 2 slots. The yellow performance seat belts divide opinion. You'd like them in a track-focused car, but even with the Performance Pack, this is a fast exec saloon, not a sports car. At the front of the high central console is a Qi charger space and a couple of USB-C ports for phones. It looks like there's only one cup holder, but if you flip up the armrest, it reveals another one, plus a small cubby. There's a bit less storage in the middle than some cars, although you do get a bit extra in the lower level. There's a reasonably sized glove compartment too. So if you buy cars purely on glove compartments, this one's a winner. The rear seats are a little more cramped than, for example, the VW ID3, but you do still get a reasonable amount of headroom and a reasonable amount of legroom. So if you're a reasonably tall adult, you'll probably be okay in the back of this car. However, you wouldn't want to be sitting in this middle seat because it's quite a bit thinner than the other 2 seats. 3 kids would probably be okay in the back of this car, but if you have 2 adults, you flip this down and you get a nice armrest with a couple of cup holders. And of course, magazine holders are available for your kids to keep their copies of the Beano in on journeys, or whatever kids read these days. The outer rear seats are heated too, with controls under these central vents for backseat passengers. There's USB charging for phones under this flap too, with a pair of Type-C ports. There's a panoramic sunroof as standard too, and that helps to improve the sense of interior space. Overall, the cabin interior is extremely well equipped and reasonably spacious, with every feature other than leather coming as standard. One area where the Polestar 2 is particularly well thought out is in terms of cargo capacity, starting with this particularly cool feature. That feature is really great if you have your hands full of shopping or heavy bags you want to put straight in the boot. Another great aspect you'll have noticed is that this car is actually a hatchback, unlike the Tesla Model 3. The space inside is a little bit smaller than a Tesla Model 3. This is 405 litres, which is 20 litres less than a Tesla Model 3. However, you get novel things like this divider. And of course, as always, if you lift the rear up, there's a little bit of extra space with some extra cables in, which we'll be explaining shortly. If you take this luggage rack off and drop the seats down, which has the usual 60-40 arrangement, you get a total of 1,095 litres, which is also a bit less than a Tesla Model 3 and quite a lot less than SUVs like the Kia e-Niro. However, as you can see, it's flat. You get a bit of extra space in front of the headrests, and if I can open this, it's got this thing here which allows you to put skis or maybe a Christmas tree through the middle if you need to. There's a little bit of extra space for, I don't know, putting some bottles of water in the side here. On the other side, you get this retention band, 12-volt power supply, and this button, which activates the tow bar, which is a £1,000 optional extra. The price is the same as with a Tesla Model 3, and it's quite similar in that you can tow up to 1,500 kilograms in a brake trailer or 750 kilograms unbraked. And that's where these extra cables and the extra number plate come in. There's a small frunk as well, but only large enough for a few charging cables. Speaking of charging, this car has a very credible 292 miles of WLTP range. However, that's quite a lot less than the Tesla Model 3 long range, which does 360 miles. Naturally, it's equipped with a CCS charging port, which usefully has a discrete unlock button for the cable. AC charging is supported up to 11 kilowatts, which takes 7 hours to replenish the battery to full. For a house with a 7 kilowatt charger, it takes 11 hours. Although the maximum DC charge isn't as high as a Model 3, which can hit over 200 kilowatts, the Polestar can still manage 150 kilowatts. Assuming you can find one of these 150 kilowatt chargers, it should take 40 minutes to replenish to 80%, but it actually takes 2 hours if you can only find 50 kilowatts. The Polestar 2 isn't the cheapest to run, costing 3.7p a mile on a 14p kilowatt hour supply, although the Audi e-tron is even more expensive. We like the way with a Tesla Model 3 or VW ID3, you just have to push your foot on the brake pedal to get the thing started, but with this car, all you have to do is sit down. It detects your body weight and turns on. A gear stick-like joystick selects forward, reverse and neutral. There's a park button nearby. And that's it, because everything else is adjusted via the touchscreen. There aren't any different drive modes. The steering wheel is quite conventional, with a regular array of buttons for adjusting things like stereo volume control and adaptive cruise control settings. There are conventional stalks for things like the lighting and windscreen wipers, which owners of Tesla Model 3 would appreciate. This part of the car seems to have been borrowed from Volvo, with a strong resemblance to the wheel in an S90. There's a separate dashboard display, a welcome inclusion compared to the Model 3's complete reliance on its central LCD panel. But it doesn't make any pretensions towards conventional analog dials. You get battery level plus a power and regen indicator on the right, numerical speed on the left, and messages down the middle such as navigational turns. The climate control doesn't have its own discrete controls, forcing you to use the touchscreen, which is a bit more fiddly than having separate buttons and knobs. This makes adjusting the air conditioning not recommended when driving. In fact, the strip of controls disappears when the menu is within certain sections. This is very annoying indeed, and it's not that clear how you get them back without trawling through to select navigation mode. There is a knob for adjusting the stereo volume, which is handy if your passenger needs to adjust this. There are buttons next door for front and rear demisting too. The 11-inch central LCD is reassuringly large, although its heavy Google integration has raised some concerns. This car is one of the first to use Android Automotive. Although the options with each section are quite logical, we have a few problems with the way it presents key functions such as the air conditioning controls we already mentioned. Google Maps provides navigation, but getting there takes more menu clicks than it should. You can select the 360-degree parking camera directly, although it will come on automatically in quite sensible fashion. The drive section is where you choose how the car operates, and you can turn off ESC, which is called Sport Mode. You can also choose how the one-pedal drive operates, which is a way of adjusting regenerative braking, and adjust whether you want creep on or off. Under Assist is where you do things like how the cruise control works, how you can set up a driver alert, you can toggle collision avoidance, you can turn on blind spot detection, road sign information, and lane keep assist, which as you can see has a bit of an error message here in this fleet car. Rather nice charge menu, which shows you how graphically how much charge you've got left, and also the charging when it's in progress. You can also adjust the amperage So if you want to even if you've got a 32 amp supply but you want to charge more slowly, you can adjust that as well. Under more, you've got things like the car status, which is the tyres, how the locking behaves, how the interior lights behave, how the exterior lights behave, how the mirrors behave, and whether the wireless phone charger is enabled. All very clear and with large icons. We like that. Now, as this is Google, you can install apps, and this is kind of how you put them together. You can see this is Google Assistant. There's a driver performance mode, which we do have a bit of concern about because we haven't been driving this car for 58 days at 0.1 miles per hour. And then you can adjust your phone, attach your phone via Bluetooth, then use it as a Bluetooth media player. But this is also where you get the radio. Now this is an area which we find particularly annoying. Why is it that these functions are not have large central icons? Why do you have to go through apps to get to them? Doesn't quite make sense. As this is a Google-based device, you can actually add apps through this method, but you need to have connectivity. I think we'll see you can add these, Spotify for example. There's also a fully fledged online manual, which is pretty useful since new cars like this can be pretty difficult to get to grips with. Overall, there's a nucleus of a really nice menu display here, but it has some serious flaws, like the fact that you have to go through multiple button clicks to get to the radio, navigation and climate control. We're not quite sure why they've designed it like this. They should be big icons right at the top for immediate access. There's no question this is a fast car. 0 to 60 takes just 4.7 seconds. However, the Tesla Model 3 long range only takes 4.2 seconds. However, putting that in perspective, that is still performance on par with some recent Porsche 911s. You'd only really notice those kind of differences in an actual drag race. The Polestar 2's top speed is also lower at 127 miles per hour, but again, you wouldn't really be doing that on public roads anyway. However, there is a bit of a pause when you put your foot down, which is a bit of a strange thing to experience when you're used to the immediate power delivery of a lot of electric vehicles, particularly the Teslas. The handling is excellent too. Now this car has the firmer performance pack, so it will be a lot more solid than the original one on a normal road. We haven't tried the non-performance Polestar 2, so we can't comment on how firmly that sits on the road. However, the Tesla Model 3 holds the road even better, cornering like it's on rails. Overall though, this is still one of the best drivers EVs around. We prefer it to the Jaguar I-Pace, which comes a close third. It's very reassuring at motorway speeds, and if you want your electric driving to be involving, it ticks all the boxes. The grip is excellent, even in the wet. Top marks to Polestar for delivering this much fun, but then it was Volvo's performance brand once upon a time. Unfortunately for Polestar, the Tesla Model 3 dual motor cars are just that little bit more fun still. We would hope that with Polestar's connection to Volvo, safety will be atop of the agenda, though the Polestar 2 doesn't have an NCAP rating just yet. But there is a collision mitigation system using front and rear radars. This starts by warning the driver before putting on the brakes automatically. However, that's not something we're going to be testing today. As you'd expect, there's adaptive cruise control, road sign recognition and lane keep assist. However, though we would point out that adaptive cruise control only has increments of 5 miles an hour, which might annoy some people who like to kind of go a couple of miles above the actual limit. You get blind spot detection, rear cross traffic alert, and the 360-degree camera that we already mentioned. A lot of these features are actually optional extras on more expensive cars like the Jaguar I-Pace. Our Polestar 2 with the optional extras would cost £53,800, which is approaching the price of a Tesla Model 3 Performance. However, the starting price is £46,900, which is actually 90 quid less than the Tesla Model 3 long range. If you buy the basic Polestar 2, it's decent value, although Tesla does give you significantly more range for your money. However, the level of safety tech and features is generally better for the money compared to non-Tesla competitors. You get more features as standard than with a Mercedes EQC, Jaguar I-Pace or Audi e-tron. You also get 3 years of servicing, roadside assistance, connectivity and warranty. The main warranty itself is for 60,000 miles. The battery warranty is for 8 years and 100,000 miles, although in the UK for some reason Polestar doesn't specify a capacity. In other regions it's 70%. There's also a 12-year anti-corrosion warranty. The Polestar 2 is impressive for a first battery electric vehicle. It does fall behind the Tesla Model 3, long range in performance, definitely range, and even price if you add the performance pack like this one. But it's still a very impressive battery electric vehicle. If you find Tesla interiors a little bit too minimalist, it's definitely worth considering, but we'd still go for the Model 3. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.